What's up, everybody? Today's episode is at the Cheesecake Factory, and we're talking about the impact of the pandemic on casual dining.
Did you catch that? My price still going up like NASDAQ. We send shots, make them duck like Affleck. All this fake news, can we bring the facts back? Never backtrack, still on the up and up. And nobody catching up to us. Every time we double down, then we double up. So if we keep winning, can you really call it luck?
All right, guys, so we all know that it's been a very challenging environment through COVID for restaurants, especially full-service restaurants like Cheesecake Factory. I'm here in Westbury, New York at the former Source Mall, and we decided to talk about a very interesting restaurant concept that's been, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart, but definitely relevant, and a place that I'd like to go every now and again to have kind of like a upscale diner-like meal. So in 1949, Evelyn Overton started Cheesecake Factory out of the basement of her duplex. She started to make these cheesecakes and ultimately relocated to North Hollywood, California in 1971 to open a bakery. That was how this all began. Inspired by how amazing his mother's cheesecakes were, the son opened the first Cheesecake Factory restaurant in 1978. So as the restaurant started to expand, so did its menu. We all know that the Cheesecake Factory menu is this like 20+ page thing that also has advertising in it. I always used to just sit there and like sit for hours thinking about what I was gonna eat because there's a such thing as too many options, and cheesecake's a perfect example of that, but that's also what made them so special at the time. So by 2005, the Cheesecake Factory had expanded to 91 restaurant locations, 2 bakeries, and they were doing over $1 billion in sales. That's with a B. So we all know that 80% of Cheesecake Factories are basically either at a mall or adjacent to a mall. They're always in close proximity. Down the road, actually, there's even the higher end version of the Cheesecake Factory, the Grand Lux Cafe, that opened in the Venetian in Las Vegas. So you have 2 concepts from the same restaurant group in close proximity here in 2 different malls. What's interesting and what I keep talking about is how the purpose of the mall has continued to change, and obviously the evolution of retail is going to continue to change what happens with malls. I keep talking about the A malls are still going to stay strong, although you're going to have office components of them, multi-family components of them. You can have distribution centers from Amazon that are taking over big department store spaces. And it's interesting because this mall here has been undergoing a kind of revitalization pre-pandemic, nothing to do with the pandemic. And the main hub in this mall is furniture. It was purchased by an Asian company who came in and bought this to become a super center for, it's a furniture company that actually bought this mall, and they're looking to put a whole bunch of concepts for home type goods inside of this mall. But the front of the mall has always been restaurant concepts. You can see P.F. Chang's here as well. There's a Ruby Tuesdays nearby down the street, and then there's also a California Pizza Kitchen. Both of those companies have had bankruptcy issues. So in 2018, Cheesecake actually had the foresight to think about delivery. They signed an exclusive agreement with DoorDash, and in 2019, 16% of their sales were made up of DoorDash deliveries. So what's interesting is, as we're talking about this, the employees are coming outside, putting up a sign, putting up cones to direct traffic for the delivery drivers and the curbside to-go stuff. So many restaurants pre-pandemic were using curbside in a major way, but it definitely continued to change because I know people like myself are a lot more comfortable getting their food brought to their car, dropped in their trunk, dropped on the passenger seat, than they are going and dining in restaurants, especially in New York at this point in time. Things are continuing to get better and better by the day with regard to COVID, but by the end of December 2020, we all know that a lot of restaurants couldn't make it through, and they're still continuing to close. About 17% of restaurants closed by December 2020, and we're hoping that there's a lot of assistance and help and government relief that will come into play and continue to help restaurants survive and thrive. One thing that's for sure is that restaurants the size of Cheesecake Factory are definitely rethinking their strategy, how many locations they're gonna need, how big they're gonna be in the future, how many seats they're gonna have, and how people can dine comfortably in this new world. So guys, thank you for joining me today, and I'm curious to see what happens not only with Cheesecake Factory, but with other casual dining concepts across the US.
Fake news, can we bring the facts back? Never backtrack, still on the up and up. And nobody catching up to us. Every time we double down, then we double up.